Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good.
Can you see me?
Yep.
Yes.
We can even hear you.
You can hear me. I don't know why I had so much trouble. Then it looks like did Dennis open the meeting?
Yeah, Carla, you should have had to
Uh,
set up a password when you had the Zoom license, which was issued to you.
I had to change. I had my own account and then I had to change. Boy, I don't remember putting in a separate. Anyway, we can deal with this afterwards. I
I'll
got
figure
in
it out.
finally by changing my own one, but anyway, we're on except for Dusty, and Dusty was traveling. So I don't know if he can get on. Well, yeah, why don't boy, I don't remember Dennis setting up a separate password, but anyway, we can fix that and make sure it doesn't happen
Well,
again.
it might be the same password that you already had where you have an account, but it should allow you to use it because you have a license with us.
I
so-
see. I see. Okay, well, I was scrambling. I changed my password so I could get in. But anyway,
At any rate, I'll
everybody else
deal with
is
that
in.
later.
Yeah, everybody else is in. So we need a formal approval of the minutes. Kathleen reminded me that it can't be done by email. So if everybody,
I move we approve last week's minutes.
okay.
This-
Okay, so we got three out, all three of us who are official board members.
Move to vote to
yeah.
accept.
Passed, okay. And she already has the minutes to post. So why don't we just jump into our task today to figure out our presentation on Tuesday. And I am a little bit remiss because I had a deadline and was slow in getting to it, not just for this, but for other stuff. So anyway, here's what my thoughts are of starting that discussion, and definitely need your input. I guess Dennis is now off, for how we move this along. The only part of this that I would actually provide in advance, posting it, are the actual bullet points of what the benefits of broadband are, which we discussed in terms of what we would give them, and maybe a copy of some of with references, maybe elaborated. So I don't know what you thought of my my way of thinking about this, and I wouldn't, depending on time, I wouldn't go into any depth immediately, but I do want to punt to Mark for any technical discussions. There's discussions about the range of financing, or why fiber, what is so good about fiber. I trip over myself when I start to just try to describe the technology. So what was your impression of what I gave you, if you had time to read it, and where we should go from here, as well as what we're going to ask for? Because I did get hold of Nancy Prisk. They didn't have a full study done the way we did. So part of what they were asking for was for Mark to do the study that I think Evan, who circulated that, was that you, Evan?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, so I think that was part of what they had. And I was going to follow up with her yesterday, but didn't have a chance. The other thing was there are some quirks there politically of what happened with the town around paying for it with the bond. And it's politically charged because the committee never assumed that it would be a tax rate increase. So I don't have the full story on that yet, but there are ins and outs of all of this. So what are your thoughts about it? Because I have time today and over the weekend, certainly, to make this tighter and better. But I was up late last night just even getting you this.
Well, I thought it was very, very well done. I
Yeah,
don't have any additions. And I think as long as you present something first, I assume you give them a copy before the meeting and then present it.
yeah, I
then-
wasn't necessarily going to give him, I could give him a written copy of what I've done here. But what we talked about last time was presenting the advantages of broadband in terms of the impacts. I don't,
Right.
you
But
mean, is that what you meant, giving them or giving them the whole presentation in advance?
Well, it would be the whole presentation in advance so that they could look at it and ask questions. And then you could turn it over to Mark, would be my suggestion. I think it's helpful for them to know what's going on beforehand, and because if they're hit with this cold, it's really hard to take it all in.
Right. Evan, do you have thoughts about it? You've seen this in Damascus, I think, haven't you? Trying to educate the town and the select board.
Well, we're in a different position over there, I think, just because there's already at least a incumbent company that's running fiber, so it's at least, it's not that scary, but I didn't get a chance to look over this until right now, but
Okay, I mean, this is the agenda, so if you want to take the moment to look it through, that's fine. Maybe Marty, you can say a little bit more about Larry Rhines. That's great that he wants to join.
Yeah, I just talked to him on the phone, and he's very interested. As a matter of fact, he's part of a regional senior group, and he's going to contact Susan regarding how you could make something more regional, but it doesn't include Dresden. He said Richmond, Bodenham. There's a few other towns that have senior centers. So I don't know if Woolwich and Dresden have senior, communities.
maybe small groups, probably nothing as big as with Cassett.
Right.
Mhm.
Or Bodenham or Richmond or whatever.
Yeah,
But that's another avenue. So I guess that you can't update that to include Larry until he fills out the application
right.
and gets approved formally. But
We could talk about his interest in applying for the board.
yeah, his interest is education. He just feels a lot of people don't have the education, and he has some issues himself about connecting and
Don't we all?
modifying stuff.
Well, maybe you guys don't, but I do.
Yeah, I'm not an expert either, but
Yeah,
I can manage.
yeah. And what's his relationship to Ben and Ben Rhines?
I didn't ask him,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
but I guess they're all related somehow. So there was
yeah,
actually Rhines who died a few weeks
yeah,
ago. He was
Peter
50.
Rhines.
Yeah.
Peter was a state legislator
Okay,
he came in in the Baldacci administration.
right.
So is Ben, for that matter. Ben preceded him way back. I can't remember when he was. Yeah, they have a history of both the select board and State House.
What was the third attachment that you sent?
Oh, I just
didn't
sent,
see
I
that
sent
one.
the Brookings impact one, which I just took some of the bullet points, but they do have references to specific studies. And
Oh.
the Brookings one was, I looked at a couple. I mean, there's tons of stuff that's been done on impact. Some of it by associations that I don't know the quality of the research given, they're promoting, like the Fiber Association has had good economic impact data, but, it's also in self-interest to do that.
Right.
Brookings theirs was post-pandemic. And that's what I sent to you, just
Okay.
kind of highlights of what their findings were.
Right.
But they have a whole group that works on broadband. So, I mean, I can dig deeper, but I don't think that's what we need, particularly
no.
to get into, you know, real depth on each one of these.
We're just
Evan, have you had a chance to look at the whole thing, or?
I looked at the whole, your presentation.
Yeah, no, I was asking Evan because he was
Oh.
taking time to look at it.
Yeah, I've got the presentation on my phone. I was just on the Zoom on my computer and then my computer completely crashed for some reason. So
Oh,
I'm
okay. Yeah,
on
take some
Zoom
more
on my
time on
phone and
that.
then but I am looking at the presentation.
Okay, because keep looking, because that's my major thing of what more I have to do on it for an initial discussion. And also the budget, I want to talk about, well, Nancy's insights on that too. I had hoped to get her yesterday. I know a lot of what they're funding or how they strategize, and it's in the Axiom report, is that, you know, there will be profits. And once they get operating, and Axiom shares its profits. So some of the profits go back into building out the broadband and reducing the bond debt. And, you know, you need a good take rate for all that. And I haven't had a chance to talk to her about, given that they already have spectrum there, how they're getting that take rate, or is it just a highly rich, educated population that really sees the advantage and doesn't care, you know, if Spectrum tries to drop prices or whatever.
Yeah,
I would
that's
have to assume for Southport, it was just they probably weren't getting that great of speeds anyway.
You mean in terms of what they're getting from Spectrum already?
Right. Yeah. So it was, for a lot of people, it was probably an easy decision.
Yeah. And I don't think Spectrum didn't target Southport when they made the proposal to Booth Bay, right? I forgot what that proposal was, but obviously.
Not to my knowledge, yeah.
So, so I wanted a better sense on their strategy for take rate, but Mark would know all that too, you know, being at the meeting. I mean, given that he's the provider. So
I was going to say that we had the Damascotta group, Newcastle group, had a meeting with Mark to discuss the RFI that they submitted. So I'll email you guys that YouTube link because it was a lot of question and answer. Of you guys might find it helpful as well.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be terrific. So on the ask, I know, Marty, you want to be more specific on numbers and and Dusty wanted more specificity on what we're really talking about. And I don't feel comfortable putting that in at this point. I mean, I mean, we know we had that.
As far as like a project budget or for the planning or for the planning budget?
No, for the project budget. He wants to know what the town's going to be in for ultimately when we have this discussion about skin in the game. And we know that Mark's initial assessment was every single premise was what, 5.7 million? And that number is going to go up with current inflation and supply issues. But I don't know how much we realistically could reduce that with any kind of grants coming in, even if we're not first in line.
Yeah.
And
I think we should let Mark elaborate on some of, since they're his numbers.
Yeah, it would be much better. He's much more fluid on this. I know he balked when I first talked to him. I know he talked about the fact that you're not going to be able to do this without some grant money unless the town is totally on the line. And
for sure.
so, you know, that's thinking about regional stuff. You know, we've been around the block on this, how to get a better financial prospect for what the investment is. But that's, I do want to punt on that. And maybe I'll have a conversation with Mark, try to get him today to make sure that he, you know, I'm sure he can do it off the top of his head. He, you know, he's immersed in all this stuff every day. But just put him on notice that that's what we want him to do, that we're not going to belabor that, but we want to have that discussion. How else would you recommend introducing that discussion? I mean, I could say Marty Fox doesn't want to keep going unless there's a town commitment to this. But it's a lot of work. I mean, we could say this is
Oh, it's not a
amount of
commitment. It's
work. And we want you to know what's involved with this. We could say,
right. Yeah. Yeah, we wanted you to know that it's not a free lunch. I mean, you did put that statement in there, but I don't know if it hits home.
what,
Yeah.
skin in the game or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
what
it depends whether you're talking about a small planning grant or you're talking about thousands of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
gonna potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think. I don't see how we could get around it. But so how much was Southport?
I can't remember. Do you remember?
For their
I did-
full cost of the project?
Yeah, two.
Well,
Like
that-
2 million.
And how much did they have to put up?
That's a good question.
But they also had a bond. I thought it said a bond for 15 million. Where did I read that? I didn't.
I didn't get to read it. I'm sorry.
It says a 50 at the end of this. I was just scanning his thing, a $15 million bond for internet construction. Oh, he's talking about the state bond. That's what Mark is talking about here. He did this study when the state bond was passed, the first one before ARPA. That's what he's referring to. But he does do, I think in here, he's got the various scenarios for, didn't he do a bonding? Yeah, he did the estimate of borrowing and bonding. And of course, now we're running into higher rates because at first that was part of certainly Biden's argument and everybody's argument, do it now because the rates are so low. And we're running into an environment of higher rates. So everything's going to be more expensive.
I think the bond total was 2.48 million. I think they bonded the whole thing with the intent of getting all the revenue back from subscriber fees.
Yeah.
I've got I don't know if we shared this one. I'll download it and share it.
Well, Nancy, something from Nancy just popped up on my screen. I'm going to try to talk to her today or tomorrow. But somehow politically in Southport, it got relayed that all the taxes were going up to pay for this. And that was not what the committee was talking about when they presented. So I don't know the details of that, but that's been a political problem that they've had to deal with.
Yeah, my take on money is the town, it has this endowment. And at one point it was $10 million. And a few months ago, could have been beginning of the year, I think I had seen a report that it was up to 13 million. So
Left over from Maine Yankee, right?
left over from Maine Yankee Capital Fund or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And so what, why send out a bond? We may as well use the money we're gaining from that fund. So there's no interest there at all. It would be my approach. I'm not telling them how to do it. But it would make it a lot easier if they're interested. How seriously are they interested in putting money into it? If it costs $1 million, it might, who knows? But
I would like to have that. I would like to introduce that, definitely. And maybe chat with Dennis later today or Monday. Is Monday a holiday, or what's the holiday for the weekend?
New Year's Day, and it's on Saturday. So no, Mondays should be a normal work day.
'Cause,
For
I mean,
most people.
businesses often give an extra day because if it's on
Yeah.
a Saturday, but
I think people are probably giving up Friday.
but I'd like to get
town doesn't
Dennis-
work Friday. The town doesn't work Friday anyway, so I don't know what they
Yeah.
do.
right. It would have to be Monday, but I would like, I think you've mentioned that before. I think it makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize how much money was in there.
It's just an option. I'm not gonna try to tell them what to do, how to do it, but that's an option.
Right. And I guess what I'm saying is it would be worthwhile having a chat with Dennis beforehand just to get a sense
Right.
of even, the reaction to that.
Or maybe you could get a hold of them this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
The town would anyway have to vote on it anyway if they were gonna
Right.
Oh,
invest.
yeah, I know. I
Right,
know.
so
But if we
Yeah.
don't get support from the select board,
Or you could do part from the fund and part bonding,
Right. there's options. So,
oh, I would imagine bonding the entire thing and then having the reserve account
pay
sit
for it.
there as a backup plan until the subscriptions come in.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense to do the bonding if the interest rates are so low. And I don't know
The
what,
other thing is with the infrastructure, with the connectivity authority and the infrastructure money, we don't know any details about their low interest loans, which could be ridiculously low, where it's just like, this is just a
right.
community action thing rather than a financial thing.
Good. That's a good point. Thank you for raising that. By the way, Andrew Butcher's confirmation hearing is next week. I can send that around if anybody's interested in watching it. I think it's 9 a.m. I don't know which day, but it's 9 a.m. Do you guys want that, or do you?
Yeah, send me yeah, sure.
Okay. And he may reveal some of the ideas, he would probably reveal some of the ideas of how rural areas are going to get funded and do all this with their resources newly designed. I haven't paid attention to the minutes either at the new authority. They're all posted, and one of us should be paying attention to that. I'll try to keep up on that.
The new authority?
Yeah. Are you watching it?
I follow the Connect to Main one. I don't think they have, I don't know if they have
They've got a website.
connectivity authority strict.
I think so. I think there is. Certainly the board meetings, I'm pretty sure the board meetings are all posted.
I think those are still Connect Main. I haven't seen a lick of anything from, but I'll keep looking.
Okay. But we should definitely know. I am going to be I'm staying on at least for now, on the NBC policy committee. So I'll get a ton of information that way.
Cool.
a question for Mark would be what he thinks would be the take rate under our circumstances, with the coverage that we have now for Spectrum.
He thinks it's low from what I can remember in the initial conversation. A low being, we'd need probably at least a 40, I think he said a 40% take rate.
So you'd have to have a lot of people convert from Spectrum. So
Right.
Yeah, he discussed that too in the question and answer thing that we did with him.
What did he think it was for you guys?
He went into talking about it in a couple different ways, and when they come up with the financials, they stick with a pretty conservative take rate of like 30-35%, something like that. But then he anticipates that it grows to 45, 50, 60% over the first handful of years. And I'm sending you the Southport. I just found a new document from Southport that was on the Booth Bay Register website. It's like 2 pages, and it's got a couple more numbers too.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're putting in for this planning grant now, but we're going to need a huge amount of education. And I don't know how much of that's going to be also, where it's not just us volunteering. Well, we may have to pay for things. Do you have a sense of that, Evan?
No, I can't say I do.
I can also ask Nancy what they did. I mean, she had a pretty small committee, but it's also a very tight community. They all know each other. I mean, even more so than Wisconsin. So maybe the education and outreach wasn't as hard down there. But I'm anticipating that's going to be a huge amount of time. And it would have to be through existing groups, institutions. I'm not sure it's going to work that well one-to-one, but maybe it requires canvassing. I don't know. I know they've done that in other places. And maybe Larry Rice can help us with this. I know one of the things we used to talk about, or in the early days of the coalition, is the formula for a successful effort was, you needed a champion. You needed somebody, and also a champion on the select board. And you needed somebody in town that knows everybody, and it can facilitate that credibility on the ground.
Well, we also have the chamber,
Yeah.
I think would be a good avenue to promote. As a matter of fact, I get the newsletter. I don't know if you guys do, but
No.
they promote other businesses, et cetera. And I think we could get their backing.
Mhm. Well, I think we're going to have to get a bunch of supporters. We'll have to develop a bunch of supporters early to go out to the town, especially if once we hear what the select board says.
Right.
But what
Well,
I'm thinking about right now is whether there's a financial issue here at all, and what that might be. I don't know if I don't think it means any fancy website stuff, because a lot of the people we probably want to get won't pay attention to it.
Right.
Or can't use it. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it's down the road after we've done the initial study. We've filled in the holes. We know what our plan is, and then we have to figure out and come back for more, or go for another planning grant, another grant from Island Institute or Maine Community Foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that Mark would have to touch on it, but they've been doing the municipal owned models, and then they also have where the same model where they own it, but it's, this similar investment from the town. It's only slightly less. And I think they detailed that in the Southport plan a little bit, where I think didn't they opt for Axiom to own the infrastructure?
Yeah, they did. I didn't read the plan. Yeah, they went with the municipal.
Yeah, I think it was
it's
like
hard
20.
for me. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was like 20% cheaper. I think it was like 1.9 or something. And then I can't remember the full gist of it, but go ahead.
Well, I just have a thing in general about, if you're going to take public money, why should a private?
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah,
but
and so if that's the only difference, I would agree with Southport. You go for the gold and make it municipally owned. But I gather that Mark's the only one that's doing this in terms of profit sharing. I thought possibly GWI was too. I don't know where they're at. They talked about doing some kind of profit sharing, but or some kind of benefit back to the groups they work with. But I haven't been in touch with them lately to know how they're evolving their model. And I doubt they'd be interested in Wiscasset, much too small. So
My guess is the only way you're going to get a take rate that's decent is to have a lower cost than Spectrum. So
I just think it has to be competitive, but within like $5-10, because everything that Mark has is cheaper than Spectrum, other than the introductory rate.
yeah.
well, that's good. Well,
But that they could, Spectrum, of course, could just go rock bottom in a fight to retain customers.
Yeah. But it's a wait and see, because it's still such an inferior product when you compare to upload speeds, and they can't commit to an actual speed rate. So it's just kind of, they can say up to a gigabyte, it doesn't matter,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And just people in general hate them and hate all cable companies, because they all do the same thing. They have the teaser introductory rate, and then the price goes up substantially after the first 12 months. And then you're stuck they get, you guys know, because they lump you into everything with your cable package, with your phone package and everything else. And this is just, hey, here's the fastest internet you can get. anything else you want, it's a la carte. You have full discretion.
Well,
So the-
yeah, I was thinking, I called my cousin in Arizona last night. You know, they got whatever their provider is, cable company, or who put in fiber. And yeah, sure, it's fine, but she's complaining about the same thing. They have no options. So, all right. So, what I'd like to do is, I want to read the stuff you gave me, you just sent, and also Axiom, and I will talk to Nancy. I don't want to talk too much. I think it's a good idea to send them, you know, the outline, Marty. Evan, you didn't pipe in on that.
I just had like 2 edits after looking at it for just a handful of seconds.
Okay, that's
And
fine.
the only one that was substantial, hold on, I'll find it. Maybe I won't be able to find it. It'll take me another second.
There was a spelling error someplace. There was, I don't know if
Yeah,
it was because or something.
Yeah, I can definitely do
There
spell.
was that, but then there was
Oh, and I do want to say, are we still going with the 10,000? I guess we could go with the 10,000 and increase it after discussion if we wanted to at the select board meeting. Given that we already talked with Dusty about a $10,000 cap on the budget from the minutes that we just approved.
I think we just continue to ask for 7 and make that work. Make the budget 10, ask for 7, and then if we can double up on that or go over 10 with that as a match, then I think we're doing well.
I'd rather ask for the 10 and be safe.
All right, then you can ask for the 10 too.
That's my opinion.
Go for it.
Ask for 10 from the town. Well, no, I mean, what Nancy said is what Island Institute likes is a 1-to-1 match. So the town goes for 7,500 and Island Institute goes for 7,500.
Okay.
But that would give us a bigger all total budget than what we're asking for right now.
Yeah, I think we should be firm on the number we want to ask for. So I'm whichever 10, whatever. 10 or 75 or 5 or 7. Who
From the town?
Guarantee,
Yeah.
what kind of guarantee do we get from the Island Institute?
Say again.
What's that?
I'd go, you know, if you're pretty sure we'd get the Island Institute, I'd go for the 7,500.
For the match? Well, certainly Southport did, but the only difference is we don't have the same extensive study that they did. You know, they were doing the full blown study. We're doing a catch up. And that was part of our rationale why we didn't need the full, you know, $15,000 for it. I could see money being possibly put into, well, as I said, educational work, but maybe, I guess we're ahead of ourselves right now. We
That
won't
doesn't mean
be
we
able
have
to
to,
explain it.
doesn't mean we have to spend it, but it'd be nice to have it there if you need it, because going back to the town for money is kind of hard. Unless they get it from ARP funds, which who knows?
Yeah,
What the-
I haven't gotten any sense. I've gotten less sense of how the county is going to distribute that at all. So
Yeah, so you think we'd get a decent amount from the Island Institute, I'd go for the 7,500.
Well, a lot of this has to also do with what we put in our minutes, and Dusty's not on the phone, and he really wanted to keep this down, even though the town does have potentially ARPA funds. So I could try to call him.
right, we never got a firm number of how much was left from this first round of ARPA funds, whether it was the total municipal thing because they split it up into 2 payments, or if. But Dennis never gave a firm answer of how much money was left from that.
Well, he didn't know how it was, the select board would divvy it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But assuming we don't get that, when I left the Zoom meeting, I thought Dusty had brought it down to 7,500. So.
Well,
Yeah,
he was also assuming that Woolwich and Dresden were going to participate in a digital equity, which also brought it down, that
right.
town would only put up 1,200. I'm personally doubtful of that. I don't think they're moving ahead. I don't think they can move that quickly to do that.
So I agree with Evan, just go for the 7,500 and
From the town.
yeah, from the town. That's the last thing that Dusty said.
Okay.
Is that what you have in there now?
No, I think I've got, God knows what I have in there now. Maybe I didn't even get to the budget request. Did I put numbers in?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, yeah, I did put it in. I have 5,000 to 7,000 in there. So why don't we, so you're suggesting update that to 7,500.
Plus 7, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so the range of 5 to 7 is in this minutes or the budget proposal that.
Yeah, and that's just what I said, just to give them a range of what we were looking for. But as I think about it more, I think we should come with a firm ask.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, why don't we go 7,500 and that will leverage the most out of the Island Institute if we make a good case why we need it.
Right. Oh, that's what I was going to say in your in that presentation was that, now I can't find it, but it said our volunteer hours may count towards an in-kind contribution, and I would just change it to will count as an in-kind contribution.
Oh, I can. Will count. Okay.
Something like, yeah, something. I can't, trying to find it still, but
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
actually we
And
can reduce the town to 7,000 or whatever with or even less with our in-kind
I think
contribution.
we should stick to 7,500, try and double up with the thing. And then if we have excess funds that we didn't use from the town, then we can return them. And then that, doesn't look bad on our end.
Right. That makes sense.
People love when you come in under budget. On time, that's a different story.
Yeah. Okay, so I
And
think,
we're not talking huge bucks,
Right. Although
Um,
somebody will think it's, there's always somebody that will think any number is big bucks.
well, Dennis made the point that most committees don't have budgets at all.
Right.
They don't
That
go.
really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I thought, well, there aren't any other committees trying to do a $5 million project.
Right.
I don't know what happened when they built the sewer district, but I'm guessing that they had a bigger, but I'm guessing that it was like a $4.1 million price tag 40 years ago. So I'm guessing that there was a bit of a budget involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So just like, yep, I don't think the other committees have, like, come on, we got to get, and that's sort of the thing that we have to get away from this is like that, they want to invest in, and I understand investing in the public water and the public sewer system, but those are also that's also has ratepayers involved.
Mhm.
And, I've got to find that study that was done about the sewer district being underwater at some point. So it's just like, how much more money do you want to sink into that type of?
I thought they had to kind of redo it or something. I thought
I
it
have no
was so
idea.
bad.
I'm gonna try and get more data on that, because if that's the kind of thing that we're gonna go head to head, it's just like, hey, this is what's gonna be here. The other things are gonna need to be completely,
Mhm.
redone at some point. And I saw that from, it's just another, debate topic. I saw that somebody said, oh, in the Newcastle Damascotta committee, they thought that the water and sewer were a lot more static. And I'm like, to me, once this gets done and you have insurance to cover any catastrophic accidents where storms or collisions with telephone poles takes down the power, other than that, it's a done deal. You just have to run it. And I'm thinking, you know, when a water main breaks or a sewer main breaks, or you have, you know, like Wiscasset with pump failures and all these other things, I'm like, that's a much more dynamic issue
Mhm.
where costs are constantly changing, and it's only based on ratepayers, not on the entire population.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, we could get into the weeds about the benefits of broadband, but you know, with all kinds of sensor technology and all kinds of other stuff and the ability to track things remotely and data, you know, use of data, you could have a whole lot better management of all our infrastructure. You know, use with broadband and fiber as the ability to you know, monitor. And that is what's happening elsewhere. I mean, I could delve into that a little bit. We won't dwell on it, you know, I mean, it could be a major topic, but I don't
Yeah.
mind going in and just seeing what other communities are doing if, you know, with the efficiencies and advantages of having good setups like that. And I don't
Yeah.
think we've got anything, do we? I mean, I know the
I have
town.
I have no idea. My
The
only
town-
kind of
the
thing when we
town-
talk about technology in that sense is just like, you're always going to have somebody that says, we can do that now, you know, or what have you. So it's, I don't know.
Well, I know the town has fiber, and I know the county office has fiber. They put it in in the last few years.
Mhm.
LCI did that. And the
And it-
schools, I don't know if they actually have fiber. I know they have very good broadband.
I think they do have fiber,
I think
because
they
that was
do.
part of the whole backbone deal,
I
Right.
think
the
library,
schools and the libraries.
Well, they
the
get
town-
it, they get it federally, you know, they're part of that whole
Yeah.
thing. I forgot what it's called, not
the
even.
town,
Oh, I think
Uh,
the University of Maine runs it anyway. Or
But the problem is, of course, that other people can't tap into it. You can't, you know, you can't share it. Even if you're not using to full capacity, you're not allowed to share it. And the only part you could share is what the state matches on it, and it's small compared to what they get federally. Susan Corbett's an expert on all that stuff. So where am I going with this? So I'd be amazed if they're not necessarily ability to connect to everything else. I mean, I remember hearing a pitch for broadband right after a lot of the school shootings. And they were saying, you know, you could have sensors all over that school and at least know immediately what's going on over there, or being able to pinpoint, you know, exactly, you know, if you've got a shooter in there, that kind of thing. I mean, we all hate to think about that, but it was interesting to think about what you could do with modern technology and much better management. So I don't think most towns have thought about much of this. I don't, you know, maybe Portland is thinking about it. But we could raise it just as a bullet point, and I could elaborate a little bit more than I did.
Larry Rhines pointed out that there is a line, and I was aware of that goes down to Maine Yankee, fiber optics line.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, any big operation like that has it.
And Chewonki, so it go
Yeah,
all the way
right.
out, paid a fortune to get it to
Well, they
go
got
out.
it as part of the schools. Now that they're, you know, they've got,
Oh,
that's how they
Yeah.
got it, I believe.
so I
they
don't
do
know.
the-
I don't understand why we can't tap into that, but
It's because they're getting it through the schools. It's
yeah,
part of
so yeah,
it's part of the public school money that they're tapping into, you know, for Chewonki. But which
They have
reminds
that-
me, I want to check back with Willard to see if he, after our meeting on Tuesday, to see if he, you know, may have time or interest.
you might tell him that we're going to be presenting there. He might want to join just remotely even.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I'll remind him of the meeting.
And you even forward all the stuff you just covered, you know,
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Especially the before and after side effects of how they felt as a group,
Yeah.
because I'm sure it was quite dismal for internet purposes before that.
Yeah, I can contact him. I'm trying to think what else. And you've got Larry. I mean, even if we had 5 people, Larry represents a different constituency.
Right.
that would be really good. We could be nimble that way and then just bring in other people for particular committee, if we needed a subcommittee on something. Try to bring on other people that way to get
But
broader representation.
it would be good to get Willett on, for sure. He has a lot of good insights. The only thing I was thinking of, and I don't know whether or not you want to include it, I had brought it up before. The negative part of Spectrum was that I spoke to a gentleman at election time that he had said that his family couldn't, he had 4 people trying to use the internet and Spectrum wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, I think I may have put it, I think it's in here, but it's not as specific as that. I can make it more specific post-pandemic,
Yeah.
that the speeds just weren't fast enough.
Right. I mean, you have numbers there, but people don't relate to that, and sometimes people, I guess, in busy hours and your neighbor is using it and somebody else is using it. I haven't had any problems recently, but when we first got on, we had problems with other people watching it and you can't connect right now or something like that.
Yeah. No, for the first time I've had lapses in my coverage, where
Lapses.
you can't get on. Usually it comes back fairly quickly, but it's a pain in the butt.
Right.
So, anything else? I mean, I'll get another copy of this out this weekend and I'll check in with Dennis and I'll check in with Nancy Frisk. Evan, was there anything else substantive or was that it that, you wanted me to change that we will?
No, that was it. I just thought that would, it's not a maybe. I've just heard it does count as contribution.
Okay. So I'm gonna follow up with Dennis if I can, Nancy. Who talked to Mark?
I've talked to Mark a couple different times.
And his intent is he gonna, if he's paid, of course, he'll follow up and do the study. He would be doing that gap study. And we know for sure he's going to be on Tuesday, right?
Yep.
No question about that.
And I don't know if, I would imagine that an outside firm would do the gap study, but also we can try and figure out to the best of our abilities, quite a few things. I'm just thinking. I'd like to get an updated service map from Charter, and then we can just go from Charter Spectrum. That way we can go from there. And their map is terrible, but at least we can try and piece something together.
Okay. And did Mark elaborate at all what a gap study might look like for them?
Not so much. He talked about that with, I think, the Nobleboro group that I went to their meeting, and I can't remember if I don't think he's super keen on it. I think he pretty much just wants to put words into his mouth. But the similar thing to what I said is I think he's using the Spectrum service maps and then going from there. And then I don't know if he converses with them to try. Well, I doubt that they would give him that information. But from a town perspective, I asked Spectrum I use their crappy little map, which is on the page on the Lincoln County study. They give you a stupid little map. It's got roads there that don't exist. And where the blue line ends, you can try and line that up. And I've sent, a request for estimates for what it would cost to expand down each road and given them every address on the roads that I believe aren't covered. And then they came back with numbers. And then for the few that I wasn't sure about, they said that there already is service in that area. So that's really the gist of it. And we'd have to ask him of how he did it, but I would have to guess that's how he did.
Yeah,
because with with Wiscasset, there's only probably a handful like Polar Pit Road, which is off of Lowell Town Road, and a few ends of other places. But places like Dresden, it's a significant gap analysis. So I'm assuming that he just used the Charter Spectrum maps, but we can do some groundwork ourselves, being that it's not too many places to go to.
yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, the people that have done the speed tests, I do have a question about that. It's like, that's what they're getting, but, you know, if they paid more, would they get better speeds?
Right.
And so how accurate is that for pinpointing underserved?
And yeah, and I don't know if and when they're ever going to use it, but I think it's as important. Yeah, I think it's as important for us as a educational tool to say, hey, the base package from Spectrum is up to 100, and there's only X amount of people getting close to that. So it's just like, I look at that all the time, and that goes back to the committed information rate. That's what they talk about. So with everybody, DSL and cable, they are always going to sell you an up to number, but with fiber, you're going to get the solid number, and it's going to be off by maybe a decimal point.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm just
Diane Daniels.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So what was I thinking about? I've lost my trend here. Yeah, I lost it. I guess the best would be if you guys are available to give me feedback on another iteration of this and try to put that
I think
out.
I think it's good. I think it's good as it is.
Yeah,
your
I've
presentation.
got a few little things to put in there from your suggestions, but I mean, I don't want to overdo it because people
Yeah.
won't read it if it's too long. And secondly, I don't want to get myself in trouble with too much information.
I think when we get to the meeting, I think we should get your presentation submitted to them as quickly as we can, and I'm gonna pull out the Wiscasset documents from the Lincoln County study today,
Okay.
and try and separate them and include the full study as well.
Okay, that would be great.
And we should get that to them as soon as possible, and then I think we should just give the intro to it. Allow Mark to kind of give his background, and I'm sure, and he's pretty good with an audience. He can talk, but
Yeah, no, he came to a number of ours. Mark's a good guy. He can definitely, and he can get right to the gist of it too, of
Yeah.
what
he
you have
preferred to
to
go there in person, but I said I think it's strictly on Zoom. So
Right.
Oh, I think can be in person.
What, this meeting can be in person?
I think so.
But
I
is
thought
it?
they were all meeting at home. I don't think anybody's meeting anywhere.
I don't think they are.
Okay, it might have changed again. I don't know.
I thought they've been doing the last month or so from
Larry,
everybody was at home.
Larry thought we could meet in person, but yeah, I can't remember which changed it, what the latest is. But if you would, Carla,
Yeah.
as soon as you can, contact Dennis. I was just thinking, just to make sure we're on the agenda.
Yeah, wouldn't that be important?
Kathleen sends it out on Thursday, so afternoon.
Yeah, are we on?
I can
she doesn't
call-
like-
I can
she
call
doesn't
her
like
too.
me because I think because of my I shouldn't say that exactly, but she's pointed out lots of things that I haven't done procedurally right, which is true, you know, in terms of the notices and I forgot what else, the timing of getting information out. So
Right.
I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to do better.
You want me to give her a call right now after we get off this?
Yeah,
to
why
make
don't
sure
you check on that so that we're not in trouble on that? If I have any questions from my dispersed notes, maybe you're keeping track, Evan, too, since you're the minute taker.
Yep, I've got a couple lines written.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna work on this today and recirculate it before I send it out. And keep it. Now, do you think the list of impacts could just stay as it is and not as a separate bullet sheet with any other kind of reference to it that people might want for where I'm getting the information? Or how do you want me to do that? Or is it just overload at this point?
Yeah, I think you don't want to overload them.
Okay,
You know, if they ask, you could send it to them later.
okay. All right, why don't I do that?
Yeah.
And I can keep it in bullet form at this point.
Yeah.
Or
And
maybe
I-
I'll give an introduction, that, well, I do, where some of this is coming from and with the potential of sending more in depth. I'll make a note in the presentation that this could be sent out if people want further information on it. All right, so got our test.
And if you would, copy Larry, you got his
Yeah.
email.
Good point. I would have forgotten.
Yeah, I just attached him to that email I sent you guys on the Axiom stuff.
Oh, great.
Okay.
I mean, it'll take a while for him to get up to speed, but I didn't think it would be too confusing for him to be in on this meeting, so it would be for me, for sure. Coming cold without reading all that stuff, so.
Okay, no, that's great. I'm glad he's interested. That's such an important constituency. And, that they're prioritizing this stuff, or he wants to prioritize it.
And he feels that the education is really needed, so.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got our marching orders and, yeah, let's see what happens on Tuesday. I mean, in some ways, if they did but you're pretty sure they're not doing anything in person. I mean,
The last recordings I've seen, everybody's at their house on the computer.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's right. I think that's right. Okay. All right. Well, happy New Year, everybody. And,
Yeah, we'll see you on the flip side.
yeah. And give me any feedback you have when I send this out again.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.